Hey, it's Birdman for Birdman on the Mountain, hanging out here at the Pinetop Coffee House and Roasting Company with Mr. Mike Moffenbeyer. How are you?
Hey, good, Rob. How are you doing today?
I'm doing well.
Good.
So we were just talking before we started about, we just had the holiday weekend, MLK Day, and they do this day of service, and because it's cold up here, they usually off-shift that and do it in the summer, and that's always kind of funny. This year is, sort of indicative of many, many years past that we've been seeing in the last 5, maybe 6 years, where we've yet to see snow. And so people, with it being a town that has a ski resort nearby,
true,
it's been kind of challenging, because we're redefining sort of what tourism here is here. A lot more trails. The town over the years has actually invested a lot in parks and put a lot more trails out there. There's a lot more paved trails, a lot more ways to go. So that's beneficial to us. And in that vein, I want to talk about the fact that we just went through a shift in a power. So the town manager left, then an interim town manager that was there for a brief moment, and then he brought in another interim town manager. And now it looks as if that interim town manager is going to be hard. But I want to talk about the process.
The town's been through a lot for sure, Rob. And the process was an extended, lengthy process, which it should have been, because we needed to make sure we got the right person in place. So the town went through an initial interview process. They weeded out, I don't want to call them contestants, candidates.
Yeah, there were a lot.
26 candidates.
26 candidates. Okay,
yeah.
Thanks.
And they weeded them out based upon scoring and the interview cycle. So where there was a big gap, that was where they were weeded out. Initially, they weeded out the candidates with who didn't meet the initial criteria. Secondary to that, they weeded out the next set of candidates based upon that gap, based upon their skill set. And then the last set of candidates, which draw us down to 2, was the same type of process, where they said the scores were, 92 to 88, and then it went from 88 down to 65.
Right.
So all of those candidates, 65, unless were eliminated. That brought us down to the final 2 candidates. And after extensive process review and interviews, the town finally selected a final candidate, which they're in negotiation with now.
Right. So, and of course, nothing's done until the paperwork's done.
Nothing's done until the paperwork's done.
Christy, who is the town clerk, who's actually rose up there. An interesting process here in the fact that she was the second interim, and she was actually doing a really good job. You usually don't get a trial run at what you're doing. So I think that was beneficial to her. And I think it was beneficial that she's a local as well. But I want to back up a little bit. I've interviewed thousands of people, and I'm sure you have as well.
I have as well. Yes.
Been in the corporate realm. And, it used to be very easy to weed out people because they didn't have the resource set upon which to get things to say. So they had to come up with it on their own, or maybe they looked in a book or did like that. Nowadays, you can literally sit down and go, how should I answer these questions? ChatGPT will spit out some answers for you, and they're very professional sounding. They're very, but they don't go, there's something they always miss. And it's that thing that people pick up on when they look at visual things like, oh, I think that's AI. And that has to do with depth.
Yeah, totally. And, the intrinsics here are, personality, fit of role, how does this person engage with the community? All of those things really matter, and especially when you're in a role like this one, right? Because this person's not only got to be engaged politically with the town council, but they also have to be engaged locally with the businesses and the residents of the community. And that's a pretty hard thing to find. And when you find somebody that's got a unique fit, like Christy does.
Yes.
I think it's really special because she's got the community bond, she's got the community support, she's got the business bond, she's got the business support. And are we always going to see eye to eye? No.
And let's drill down on that.
All right.
So here's the thing, and I've talked to Christy a couple times, and she's like going, "Wow, some people aren't taking this well." When you're in a position where you're not the one making the decision, and you're either supporting a decision or just sitting or just following along with the decision, it's very easy for people to love you, and it's very easy to not have any conflict. And the conflict always comes from when you got to make a decision. Never going to be 100%. She went through a process where she was asking people, you know, what was going on and stuff like that. She's like, well, I'm not getting 100% people supporting. I'm like going, well, you're never going to.
No, idolization doesn't work in that role because you have to make a decision. And sometimes you can gain support from your decision based upon how you communicate it, or
Yes.
sometimes not. And so people are watching.
Yeah.
And, you know, you flip that YouTube on for the town council meeting and you're paying attention to what's going on there. And sometimes it's not necessarily just the words that matter, it's the actions that go along with the words.
Right. Are
So
they
it's super important.
aligned?
Yeah.
You know, if I say I'm going to do this, that's what's happening. And, you know, it's very easy to stand in front of people and seem like, oh, they seem like a really nice guy. But behind the scenes, you don't understand that they say that one thing, but they're doing other things that are counter to the actual thing that we want to see happen.
So it's all about guidance at that point, right? So you got to be a leader enough to say yes or no, I agree or disagree, and then to be able to support that in front of the town council in a way that makes sense and demands respect.
Early on, whenever they put up the position, somebody online had said, and I'm not calling this person out, because it's a sentiment, people say it, well, why don't they just get somebody that's got a lot of years' experience doing it, being a town manager, and bring them in? Well, one, they got to apply. Two, even though that might exist, it might not be the best fit for the community, because community is really got to tie in more. You got to be,
So
you know,
true.
especially here, anybody listening that lives here knows that if you haven't been here at least 5 years, there's no way you're even considered a local yet.
Absolutely.
And you can even come in hard and come in strong and be very supportive and have a lot of support up front. You know, I can point one woman I know right now that at 3 years in, she's really considered a part of our community. But you gain that strength as you go and you move forward.
There's no question about it.
Somebody that knows the families, knows the things, went to high school, did the things, that has a strong support. But then, of course, you have to be able to do the things to move the town forward.
And they're visible, and their strength shows in the community, right? Because you hear their name, you know that they're supported, you support them. And even if you don't, you know that there's a point of alignment that doesn't always intersect.
Right.
And if it doesn't, then, you agree to disagree.
Right.
But that doesn't mean that you dislike the person. That doesn't mean that you can't get along with the person. It means that the next time an issue comes up or arises, that you have a different set of communication, perhaps, that just aligns with, whatever it is you're trying to resolve.
Yeah. Now, speaking of somebody that hasn't been here forever, but has injected themselves into the community in a positive way, yourself,
Thank you.
You were asked to go and be part of the panel that actually was part of the interview process. So
I was.
Talk me through that.
I was. And that was very objective. We had a set of 12 questions. It was kind of a round robin type of a situation where every person on the panel, there were 6 of us, asked 2 questions. And we went around, you were allowed to ask a question, but no follow-up. And that struck me as kind of funny. Well, when I got to have conversation with the people who set up the interview process, they gave us that opportunity during the open forum with the town.
Right.
So we had the opportunity to go in and get drilled down more into those questions if we didn't feel like we got a suitable answer for them,
Right.
which we did. And it was super helpful. And I'm actually glad it worked the way that it did, because I felt like I was a part of the process.
Right.
While at the same time being able to insert some objective questioning later on in the process, if that makes sense.
Yes. So your questions that you asked them, were the candidates given those ahead of time? Do you know?
The ones that I did, they were not.
Yeah. Okay. I wanted to call this out.
Yeah.
So you asked questions and they had to answer them. They did this sort of more in a private realm, not out in public.
Very private, and it was very specific.
Yep.
And I was genuinely surprised, honestly, because I felt like a lot of the questions were answered very quickly without much substance behind them. And I think that's part of the reason why, is because we asked those questions in private, and they were not prepared for them.
Yes.
So the answers were genuine, but I will say that they didn't entail much detail behind them. So when we got deeper into the question later on in the process, that's when we got the chance again to drill down and get more specific.
So then those two were taken and put in front of town council during an open meeting, and they were given questions, and I think they were given 7 questions, but they had those questions ahead of time.
They did.
Now, here's where people are like going, well, why would you give them the questions ahead of time? One, because there's all kinds of dynamics that can happen whenever one person goes first and the second person's there. So you don't want them to be able to hear them accidentally or anything like that. Gives everybody an even playing field. 2, when you give somebody the time to prepare to answer a question, you get to really find out how they research and answer that question. Is it just, literally, you could look it up on ChatGPT and give that answer. How much of the person gets interjected, and that's where it comes down to play.
That's exactly right.
They get to figure out how much of myself do I show this, and how much do I ad lib, or how much do I make it verbatim.
It also told us how much more of it was personal to them, and how much they really knew about the community.
Right.
So when you start asking the type of questions that were asked, you could literally see ChatGPT come through in a couple of the answers. And you could also see the human being come through in quite a few of the questions.
Right.
So when those candidates were, providing those answers in a setting where they knew what they should say and would say,
yes,
it created a whole different environment from the very private situation where they were, when myself and the other six members of the hiring panel were in a situation where they had to be able to answer just quickly on their feet.
Yeah.
So you learned a lot from both of those situations.
So you and I both stood up and actually made a statement before they started the interview process about what we believed was important to it. You stood up and I could paraphrase. You could just tell me what yours was.
Well, I just talked about community, having local presence, making sure that this person was truly connected to the community, and that this wasn't a stepping stone for them, because I think that was super important to all of us, that we needed somebody that was going to be here for a long time, and somebody that was embedded, had some roots here, and Christy really seemed to fit that bill.
Yeah.
Jack did a great job, and he answered the questions very thoroughly. He just didn't have that personal feeling and connection that I think that the community was looking for. And that's not just me. I'm speaking on behalf of the broader business community,
right,
as well as the local residents, because, I am one. I love this town, and I want us to see stable and fit for a long time. And I think the ideas that you put forward in an interview like that are so super important as to where you hope to be able to guide our community.
Yeah, and I think I echoed sort of like what you were saying, and really sort of drilled down on the whole, we as a community, nonstop, scream at the top of our lungs, buy local, shop local, do this local, do that local, and if we can't hire local, then we kind of aren't really putting our money where the mouth is.
That's absolutely right, and I thought your comments and Allie's comments were super, super well placed, and I think that your words were loudly heard in the community. To me, the whole thing came down to if all things were equal, and if you look at these two candidates, you're like, wow, which one should I pick? It's obvious you got to go with local. If she'd have fallen and stumbled and not been able to answer a question and didn't have the trust, then you got to go with something else. But honestly, that's going to be only because she didn't. It was hers to lose. And here's another thing: is if she wouldn't have already been taking forward-stepping action throughout the interim process, it would have been a different story.
Yeah.
Sitting back on her heels, waiting for the decision to be made before she took any action on things that are going on in the community, it would have been a whole different story.
Yep.
But when you're able to stand up and say, here's what I've been doing for the last 3 months, blank, 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 and they're all impactful to the community in terms of the reporting, the transparency, all of the things that we hoped to be able to receive from a town manager, she delivered.
The hypothetical questions of what would you do weren't. They were literally, here's what I'm doing.
Here's what I'm doing. That's very true.
And she was very, I got to tell, she was very respectful of the fact that she didn't like, well, this isn't even high tech. This is what I'm doing, you know. So it was like, because I think she was timid in the fact of, do I really point out that I'm already doing this, or you know, but. She was.
Yeah, she didn't need to play the "here's what I'm going to do" card. She played the "here's what I'm doing" card.
So now, like anything, you know, we're going to move forward and we're going to see how things go. You know, everybody always has a plan. They always, you know, the Army, I think, has this one statement: is everybody has a plan until it goes shit, and then
then you don't.
then you don't have a plan. So first you make a plan, then you watch the plan go to crap, and then you come up with a new plan.
Yeah.
So,
well, I think we're in a really good position as a community and as a business community. I'm very forward thinking, and I like to know that, you know, the person that's sitting on the other side of the table from me has the same motivation that I do to create progress, to create energy in our town and our community, and you know, to keep our town alive.
Yeah.
And I think we're in that position right now.
And moving forward, this town must get water and sewer. And if you're on a water board or you're on a sewer board, and you're like going, yo, we want to keep that control. It has to become integrated for the betterment of the entire community.
And communicated.
Yes.
Outwardly.
Yes.
So, yeah.
And those people that are on those boards, you know, as things come into play and we start to get this town built into what it really should be, I mean, some annexation needs to happen.
No question.
And I think those people that are right now resistant to annexation, if you bring the water and sewer into a thing and it makes it more efficient and better water and better sewer for everybody, then it's like, oh, okay, this makes sense.
Yeah. It's a zero-sum game at that point.
Yeah.
And it's easy to raise your hand or, you know, check that box when you go to vote. So
remember, if you want to have conversations about these topics, the best place to have it is right here at the Pinetop Coffee House.
Thanks, Rob.
Come on by, get a cup of coffee, chat with everybody, and once a month here, the town council actually stops in and you can have coffee with the council.
Yep, it's always a fantastic time and a nice general setting, very laid back, non-formal. You can ask anything you want of a couple of council members, and hear the truth.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool. Anything else for this week?
Hey, Rob, thanks so much. I welcome everybody into my shop. We're at Times Square, 1684 East White Mountain Boulevard, Suite 1. Stop in, grab yourself the best cup of coffee you're ever going to have.
Cool. Hey, I'm Birdman. This is Birdman on the Mountain, and we'll see you soon.
Thanks, Rob.